good morning or good afternoon. What time is it? I don't know.
It's still morning.
Technical issues all day.
You have 5 minutes left of morning.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
We'll do a small introduction. So you and I work at your co-hosting location, HTX Hub. Hub HTX?
Hub HTX, there you go.
And then you also run another company called Innova Industries.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So you're a 2X founder.
Sure.
And this is amazing. You run two different businesses, two different P&Ls.
Mm-hmm. Very, very completely different industries, completely different worlds.
So glad to have you here. And you're here, and I think you're having
I'm not here. I'm not in Houston. I'm not in that beautiful room with you guys. I am just at my office in Inglewood, Colorado, which is still noteworthy, but it's definitely not that couch with the greenery. It looks fantastic. So hello, Sandra. Happy to have you on the show today. Thanks for joining us.
Good to greet you again.
So tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Okay. I assume you mean professionally, right?
Wherever you want to go. It's all going to the internet, so.
Yeah. Right. And it'll be there forever. I started my first company, Innova Industries, when I was 28 years old. So that was a while back. We've been going at it for about 16 years strong. That company is focused in like the intermodal, ISO tank, bulk liquids, container chassis world. So we supply equipment, and we also do, other things like custom projects, accessorial equipment, and things of that nature. So like pumps, telemetry, other types of services related to that. And then Hub HTX is my co-working space, which kind of came out of a necessity to have some office space for my primary company, Innova. And what I wanted out of that space changed over time. At first I was looking at industrial sites and thinking, I'm going to have some equipment on site, etc. At the end, I decided that I wanted to be kind of in the same neighborhood where I live. And it would be a great opportunity to branch off into a new challenge, to keep myself mentally stimulated as well. And so I acquired this space, and it'd be like great for our office. And then we can also do multi-purpose types of things. So we have the co-working, we have, it can be an event space. We also have, like different tier memberships, and we have like traditional lease offices in the back as well. So it's really cool because our company is still very small in terms of personnel, but it gives me the opportunity to chat with people like Matt, to chat with other entrepreneurs, other small businesses, other people that are leading teams where maybe their companies are headquartered somewhere else, but they have remote staff here. And so it gives me that variety that I crave in life, and it's a really good space to just kind of feel like everybody's like really like killing it every day. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Wait, so I never knew this. What is an ISO tank? Like, I still visually have no idea what that is.
Okay, well, I didn't bring any like charts or schematics.
Just like I'm trying to picture in my head what is it?
Yeah. Okay, well, I mean, everybody's familiar with like a 20-foot shipping container where you're like Nikes are going to come in from overseas, etc. So it's that same. So ISO stands for International Standards Organization.
Oh.
So those dimensions at 20 by 8 by 8.5, like that does not change. So that would be the frame that the tank is built inside of. Mm-hmm. And so then the tank itself is, generally speaking, you're talking about a stainless steel tank that fits within there. And then you've got, mostly like chemicals, but it can also be like food grade types of product. And so those are going to be, anywhere from like
Like, do you put like soda in there? You said
You
food grade.
can. So, it's going to be like 12,000 liters, just 26,000 liters.
Mhm.
Or like, I don't know, 4,000 gallons to like 6,600
So
gallons or
these
something.
tanks are just only holding liquid. That's
Correct.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, there's other types of tanks that look very similarly too, and we also sell those, and those are going to be gas tanks.
Mhm.
So those are going to be, those are going to be even more pressurized vessels, and they're, further specialty for things in their gas matter state and all of that. But mostly we're talking about like the bulk liquids. So it could be anything from like a milk dairy farmer, wine, beer, chili pepper
wait.
mash.
People
These are all
transport
food grade.
milk in it. I don't understand.
Yeah, absolutely. So not only is it a highly insulated, piece of equipment, so it actually maintains temperature for a very long time, but also you can put a refrigerant system in there, a heating system, so different things. Because also different types of chemicals, depending on, what they are, they may, at ambient temperature, they may become a solid, right? And so you always have to heat them, right, to maintain their liquid property.
Sandra, how did you get into that industry? I am so fascinated at just the trajectory of you founding a company to do that. How did that start?
So that is always the first question everybody asks me, right? And I guess it's a fair question, right? But yeah, long and short of it is basically like I, fresh out of college with my sociology and French degree.
Perfect.
I was looking for different placements. I ended up at a trust fund company for a little while. And then I got a call for a temp position related to this industry. I, went there, started working, and it was just supposed to be like a 3-month kind of assignment, get things like organized and whatnot. We had a vendor come in from Paris, well, not Paris, but from France. And so I entertained them in French for a couple of days. Then we had a customer of ours come in from Mexico City. I entertained them in Spanish for a few days. And shortly thereafter, I was offered a full-time position. So kind of got my feet wet in that industry, early 20s, fresh out of college. You're just kind of pouring out your heart into everything that you do. I'm the kind of person that I just take ownership over whatever I'm doing. So it didn't matter that I was getting paid peanuts, like I wanted whatever we were doing to succeed. And so, I definitely poured all of my energy into that, including, whatever marketing bit I could do. I mean, it was more than just sales, more than just admin, putting all of that into it.
I think a lot of founders that go past a certain stage, because I always consider there's two types of businesses. There's like you start off, but you're default dead, meaning you like stop working and you're dead. And then after a certain point, you're default alive, even if you just stop working for a sustained a long period of time. And I feel like to get to there, you really do have to care about everything. And like it's a work ethic you build early on, because like you mentioned, like you didn't really care how much money you made. I was the same thing in like early 20s. It's like I just want to do for me it was coding. It's like I just want to engineer like the best stuff I can possibly can. Yeah. And then what happened later on is like, oh, that's something you can make a lot of money with. I'm assuming it was a kind of a similar trajectory once you kind of understood everything.
Well, I'm going to speak directly to you because I feel like you may share, in this maybe a little bit better than my male counterpart over here. But, so after a few years, I started having kids, right? And so all of a sudden in my early 20s, when I was just like, oh yeah, I can work till 6:30, like no big deal, like whatever. You give up your time, whether or not that's being, compensated or not, like you're vested in it. And then suddenly when I needed to leave at 4:30 because, hey, it was going to be, an extra whatever for daycare, it's like, hey, is that okay? It's like, oh, is it okay? And then you start receiving these subliminal messages that, somehow like your value has decreased or something like that, because and it's just all of the constraints that go with that. And so there came a tipping point for me. There were a few different things that happened, honestly, and not speaking ill, because I really did gain a lot of experience and a lot of exposure. So I'm happy with the takeaway from that. But at the end of the day, like, it was no longer working. It was no longer viable for my life. Mm-hmm. And so I went home and I was just like, I can't go back. I have to do something on my own. And in that time period as well, we were contractually obligated with certain like manufacturers to push X amount of their equipment per month, etc. This was, mind you, in the middle of we're at the end of 2008, so we were in an economic recession in the U.S. at that time as well. Mm-hmm. And I had customers that were like, "That's great, but this is not in our budget at this time period. So what about this? What about that?" And so I'm naturally wanting to be a problem solver, and I was like, "Yeah, let me chase this down. Let me find this for you. Let me find that for you." And I was told very much to stay in my lane. Right. Uh-huh. And so after all of these like perfect storm circumstances came together, I was like, you know what? I can do what I'm not allowed to do here. I really think I can make it work. I can give the customers what they're actually asking for instead of just trying to fulfill some kind of like contract on paper. And so, yeah, I just went home, talked to a lawyer. They were like, "Great, you can do whatever you want. You just have to leave absolutely everything behind and start from scratch." And I was like, "Wow, I can do that," And so that's kind of how I got started on my own. So it was, within the same industry, kind of, sort of, but like I had my own twist on things. I was doing, I was kind of more focused on like quality used refurbished things that people, smaller companies could come in at a lower price point and, still have what they needed in order to service their customer accounts, etc. And so, I slowly started to build up my network over time and kind of reinvented all of that. And, here we are.
That's fantastic. Thanks for sharing that. I actually share a similar story with you of how I kind of came to be my own boss as well. And it was all around that kind of thought of family planning. And there's no ill will I had for my last corporate job when I was owned before working for myself, but it was very much the same thing. I had a lot of opportunity in my 20s. I was promoted quickly in my 20s. They gave me a lot of great training, great learning, great exposure in the branding space, but it was the same concept of it wasn't really a conducive environment for family. The travel was high. It was higher stress. The nature of my work, I was given an opportunity to move to corporate and, manage people, manage teams, accelerate my career there. And it just wasn't something that my husband and I were interested in. But it was kind of a similar story of yours where, I thought this isn't working. And for me to work in the way that I think I want to in motherhood and how we bring children into this world and still use parts of our brain to work, but in different ways, I kind of knew I had to work for myself. It was really interesting. And so I too took a lot of the things I learned from the business and then also just implemented things my own way, but different, right? So you're saying, hey, I want to approach a smaller client that maybe needs it for less, or especially in the nature of the economy. I graduated college in 2006, so it was right into, several years of the recession economy and lots of layoffs. I was laid off twice in my 20s and had to recover from that. So I think it makes you a different kind of business owner when you are founding a business or founding something in that kind of economy. So kudos to you for being able to do that. For me, it took, years later, but working through the corporate ladder in your 20s in that kind of economy is challenging. So I do think it makes you more of a lean business owner and more of I want to help and work in gratitude. I want to help these people get what they need. If it is a lower price point, how can I still make money on that, but do it differently? Where can I save some costs that maybe these companies aren't? So very cool story. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think it makes you more like resilient, just knowing that for every downturn, there's an upturn. And then hopefully you're planning adequately too, right? So like in the fat years, like make sure that you're, reserving some of that cash flow, et cetera, so that in the lean years, which would be this year,
this time last year more optimized for the long run.
Exactly. And so that, in the long term, you're going to be, a healthy company, because, I have outlived a lot of players that have come in and, into the market, and then and it's funny because, especially early on, before I really felt like comfortable saying, oh, I've made it, I'm here, I've earned my place here. Anytime a new competitor would come in, I would just like, on the outside, I was like, cool, of course. Like, yeah, I can handle it. But on the inside, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose market share. I'm going to this, I'm going to that. They're going to come in. And, oftentimes it was some guy, and they'd be coming in and, kind of like.
Well, you're in a male-dominated industry, right?
Absolutely. And they'd be like, oh, well, I'm very well connected, on the Western side and all of the ports, I've got my contacts. And so, I can get this and I can do that. And for the first few rounds of this, I would buy into that, and I would buy into that fear and all of that. And I'd be like, oh my gosh, I don't have this kind of contacts. I don't have this kind of this. I don't have this kind of that.
Well, that's always like the beginning for anyone founding something, right? You start out business, maybe you get like some revenue, and then, you're promised a bunch of new potential opportunities. What are you going to do? Say no?
Yeah.
Right? You can't. You don't know what happens. So. Yeah,
absolutely. But, after so many cycles of this, and just going like, head to head with people and understanding that what they said and then what they were able to deliver wasn't always the same thing. And so, oftentimes, I remember distinctly, one person came in and they were like, oh, Maersk is like basically my best friend. That's a big shipping line, in case you don't know where that is, and they're like, oh, I've dominated the California market, so I'm coming into Texas to take it by storm. I'm like, okay, great. That makes me feel wonderful. And we're not even Texas local, but whatever. They came in and, he brought in some stuff, and he was, had all this bravado and whatnot. And I went to go take a look at it, and I'm like, well, that chassis has been to heck. That one's been in an accident. That one has a stress fracture there. I'm like, how are you going to sell this stuff?
He's really just talking shit.
Yeah, and he's like, all the color drained out of his face because he didn't have this special, he didn't know his equipment. He didn't understand what he was looking at. He was coming from the container industry, which is a little bit different, when you're talking about chassis, et cetera. And, he just did not have the expertise. And like little by little, all of these lessons have piled up to where it's like, oh, I'm actually an expert in my field. I actually know what I'm talking about. I feel comfortable in it. I've matured in it, and so, yeah, but it takes a while, it takes a while just going through all of these exercises to be able to be, comfortable in your place in this market, in this world, and all of that.
Right.
The best salespeople are the ones that just act like consultants, right? It's like, you don't have to sell. You just like, I just know the whole industry. Like, how can I help you? We don't have to do a deal, but like, whatever you want to ask, I know it all. I know it more than all your peers. I think that alone is like probably an unfair advantage you have.
Yeah, I always see things as being more of like a problem solver.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I actually get, that's what feeds me, right? Of course, we all need to make money, right? We all have a life that we have to pay for. But like what actually brings me satisfaction is, taking a customer that comes in and knowing that whatever we're doing for them is actually going to accelerate their business. It's going to take them to the next level. It's going to give them an entry point. It's going to solve a complex logistical problem that they had, and in the meantime, I get to sell them some equipment, but hey, I've also helped them figure out how to get like product from the west coast of Mexico to the east coast of the United States of America. That's not what I do directly, but through my knowledge, through my network of other vendors and stuff like that, like we can help solve all of these problems along the way. And so that's what really like gives me joy, because it keeps me engaged too, right? Like, I mean, to just sit there and just flip one thing for another,
right.
like that's happy to do it, but that's not going to keep me engaged all day, every day. But actually sitting there, with a customer that comes to me with something that I've never seen before, and being able to walk it through with them, and get them to that finish line, like that.
What's
like
a crazy?
really
I'm trying to understand. Like, what's a crazy scenario that would come through your desk as like a lead or whatever?
Yeah. Well, like I said, we just we were talking about that client, and so before they had transported their chemicals over the road in bulk tank trailers. So that's the ones that
those like the big cylinder ones. Yeah,
exactly. And so he was looking for a way to do almost all of it over the rail system.
Okay.
Because it, generally speaking, if you can do it right, it's going to save you like a significant amount of transportation costs versus like over the road the whole way. And it should be maybe a little bit safer, like going across borders and all of that kind of stuff too. And so, and then he liked, an ISO tank is what we call intermodal or multimodal. So you can take the tank, you can put it on a truck, you can put it on the train, you can put it on a barge.
Is that multimodal, or is there inter and multi the same, or is it?
That's a good question. I use it interchangeably.
So I'm assuming that's what the industry kind of probably does.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So multimodal just means like different, various forms of transportation, and intermodal is kind of like exchanging one form of transportation for the other.
That's kind of
if cool. I'm not 100% correct on that,
the only reason why I asked,
I'm happy to read the comments after the show.
No, I just asked because so I work with AI models, and there is something called multimodal, and it's the same aspect. Either single modal only has one input, and then multi is like you can put images and videos on it.
Okay, yeah.
I was just trying to connect the dots. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, so the terminology I think would be applicable across different platforms, but definitely in the shipping industry, that's what you're talking about. And so, yeah, but it was, you may not stay on the same rail system. You may have BNSF goes from this city to this city, and then you have to translate to UP, right? Union Pacific, and then you got to.
So you're kind of like consulting from a logistics sense too. Is like if someone has this problem, you kind of think about the whole like little details, not just like the starting point, but how is it going to be transported? What are some issues going interstate? You guys have to worry like weather and stuff too.
I mean, some customers, they come, and they just have like an order, right? They know what they're doing. They know how to do it. They just need me to provide them the equipment. Other customers are like, hey, I've never done this before. I think it would work. And it's my job to kind of prove that to them.
So then you could sell the...
Yeah, exactly.
You don't actually sell... You lease the tank out. You're not really like...
We do both.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so for the majority of, the 16 years, we've been really a sales only. So it's like final end user kind of company. In the last year, we've rolled out our leasing model. And that's just to kind of, continue to expand the company, make sure that we're offering different.
You have to make sure like the container that ships milk isn't the same container that ships like mercury,
absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, but that's industry standard.
Got it. I just want to make sure I don't want to be drinking.
No, you're absolutely right. They are clearly identified as foodstuffs only, food grade only. They're large decals. You have to have a list of all of the past products that have been in that tank, and then oftentimes like for. Some of our customers will just do a brand new virgin vessel because we don't want to have any kind of like cross contamination or anything like that. But in our food grade service, like we definitely we're sourcing our tanks and stuff from companies that's what they specialize in. That's the only business that they do. So there should never have ever been any kind of like chemical contact.
What's like the most dangerous chemical that you've had to work with?
Triple methyl death is what we say. That's not an actual chemical. Well, I mean, I'm not particularly like working on the loading or anything.
But you
like
guys,
that,
but you still have to figure out the tank that matches it.
So
right?
we have like corrosive chemicals that require like a liner. So, like your hydrochloric acid, your sulfuric acid, things like that. Then you have, I guess, probably the ones that can blow up. Those are fun. So, and you've got your placards that indicate what type of product is in the tank.
The placards are those things at the back where it has a different,
the little diamond shaped
yeah.
things, and so it'll be like class 5, class 7.
So if I'm on the road, which is the one I need to avoid? What color? Is it the red one?
Red.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought.
I think green too.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't quote me on that. I don't have my cheat sheet in front of me, but yeah.
No, that's good to know. I'm not. Yeah.
Although, to be fair, the ones that scare me the most are the trailers that have the pipe on them.
Pipe? What do you mean?
I don't know if it's appropriate to share.
No.
Oh, are you talking about the trailers that have the stacks of the big metal pipes?
Yeah, just the big old oil and gas kind of like pipeline pipe on them.
Oh.
So I will never drive behind one of those because unlike our tanks, which are secured by twist locks to the frame and they're not going anywhere, same thing with a drive box container, like those things are strapped in and ratcheted and all that. So if they're improperly secured, they can come loose. And in my junior year of high school, one of my senior friends, her mom was in an accident with one of those, and the pipe came loose and decapitated her while she was driving. So I am like scared to death of them. I just
like
will not.
Final Destination.
I will not drive behind them. So
yeah, same. Well, actually, in fact, any semi that's carrying anything behind it strapped in, even a pickup truck that's carrying something strapped in, or lawn services or anything, I always don't. I get around them. I don't like driving behind anything that has anything that could fly loose and hit my windshield. So
absolutely. Another time I was on the road and we saw something on the road approaching us. At this point, we were in like a truck and like a standard, regular truck. And we just see it like going through the road and we're like, what is it? And, and it's like, they say that time slows down. That actually happened because we see it coming, but it's like it's coming in slow-mo. And there was nothing that you could do to avoid it. There was, cars to our right, cars to our left. We couldn't get into another lane. And all of a sudden you see it go and it lodged into the hood of the truck. And it stopped there. Thank goodness, because had it bounced up,
God, it
would have shattered glass and who knows what. But it ended up being a piece of a trailer that had fallen off.
Wow.
And so yeah, it can be like really scary, which is why it's really important to have very good quality control, very good safety measures, make sure you're doing your preventative maintenance. We need to be thankful for all the quality drivers that are out there that are like walking around every single time doing their pre-trip inspection and post-trip inspection on all of their vehicles.
Sure.
It was a National Truck Driver Day like a week or two ago or something like that. So thank you, truck
Have
driver.
you, with your business, ever encountered an oh shit, oh no, this is a catastrophe moment that you had to work your way through?
No, thank goodness. Like we have really amazing, repair mechanics and welders and all of that kind of stuff. We outsource all of our repair work, and we only work with really great facilities that are doing all of their OSHA compliance, EPA compliance, all of the different, all of their different standard ASME, all of that kind of stuff. And so yeah.
That's great. Fantastic. So then let's switch over to the co-working space in Houston. What's been one of your struggles in founding a co-working space in Houston? I'm very curious. And with that challenge, have you felt that it has delivered? It's kind of a two-part question. Delivered what you wanted it to for your primary business, which is why you founded it through those challenges. And where does that leave you now?
Yeah. So the great thing about this space is that I purchased it in 2019, right before COVID. So yeah, it was just really great. So we
You paid maximum, right?
huh?
You paid maximum?
Oh,
It
for
sounds
sure,
like, yeah.
for sure. Yeah, no. I mean, I think overall, just kind of where we are in Houston and stuff like that. I mean, we're always going to be on the upside, but in terms of growing this business as a co-working space, it was like this, and everybody was just like super interested in it. We were having membership, growing, doubling, like all of the time. We had a wait list, about 15 companies deep for our private offices. So yeah, it was really great. And then, I don't know if you guys remember, that February, March 2020, like kind of this whole thing happened. So yeah, we were just stuck with, well, what do we do now? Like we so we actually shut the office down for like a month or 2 months. I don't really remember. I kind of feel like we all have like COVID amnesia, like it's like what you need to do to like heal.
It's like having a baby. Like you have a baby and you totally forget having a baby and you're like, I'm going to do this again. And then you have the baby and you're like, why did I do this again? That's so hard. And then you're like, I'm going to do it again. So I think it's the same concept.
Yeah.
I was in Chicago and we had riots like basically every other month.
Oh my gosh.
So I remember
because of like restrictions or
people didn't want to be locked down so long, and so Chicago had some really bad riots, especially where I lived. It was like right on like downtown, and like they just smashed like every window.
Oh my gosh.
Like I'm talking about every window. I have video. I have to share the footage. I have video footage just walking around. Everything's broken on the first level. So for me, there was no
for the buildings or for the vehicles or both.
Both.
Okay.
Oh yeah, cop cars were on fire. It was
like
all
a
over the
Mad
news.
Max video kind of thing.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So yeah, so for me it wasn't slow motion. It was like no.
Or was it like Philadelphia after they won like the Super Bowl or whatever?
No, this was worse because it kept happening. It kept happening. So and then what would happen is in Chicago, the tourists. Well, not only it was also because of COVID, but tourism was down. So you could just like. In my opinion, the tourism helps buffer like safety because no one's going to commit like a crime in front of a lot of people. Well, once you remove all the people, well, cops are already stretched thin. People just run around and do whatever they want. So what would happen is like in Chicago, there's something called the Gold Coast, and it's like where all the high end shops. They would just get bashed in like every other week, and the employees are told not to do anything, right? So they just take the loot and just leave.
Wow. And
that was like every week during from like 2020 to 2021.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a long period.
Yeah, there were horses. There was like during the riots, there was a guy in a horse too. Like in the city downtown, it was wild. That was a wild time. So I think everyone else had like more lockdown stuff. Like I was outside every day seeing like what has changed.
But not for the good.
That's incredible.
That's why I'm in Houston now. So that was one of the reasons. Like, I'm done with these riots. If they can happen now, they can happen anytime. I'm like, I'm done. I know Houston has like their own protests and stuff, but it was nothing compared to like what I saw in Chicago.
No, it was pretty tame. Like I would say. I mean, I think. Like at first, like everybody went through like the COVID like honeymoon. It's like, oh, like we're making sourdough or like whatever. I don't know. I've yet to make sourdough bread. But anyway, so like there was kind of like that I'm working from home, but we don't know what we're doing, but it's a temporary state of like vacationing. And then after a while you start getting like really antsy. Yeah. So bringing it back to the co-working space, we did, come back to the office once, Centers for Disease Control and all of that said that you could be in the same space, just make sure you're masked up, etc. So then we began like the year long of like, when you're out of your office, you're wearing a mask and we didn't see anybody's like, and if you met somebody in that time period, you don't know what the bottom half of their face looks like. You're waiting to like discover that at some point in time later on. And so, that was really interesting because we, one of the things that we do here is we're like really focused on like community and all of that. So at least once a month we get together, we do some kind of like food related event or something like that. And so we were like, how do we do that? And I remember a little bit later on, like we had something and it was just like, like one office was at a table over here, another office was like at a table over there, another office was like there, and we were just kind of like,
Social distancing.
we were like, spread out, and we were like, cheers, it's just like, but yeah, after that, it's been kind of like this up and down roller coaster. Since it isn't my primary company, it also doesn't get all of my attention.
Right.
So like I can't speak to like the analytical or the metrics, like why are the things happening that are happening? I just know that they are happening, right? And so, we'll get spurts where I think people just get fed up with remote work or being isolated or what have you. And then all of a sudden we'll just, start seeing an uptick in people showing up. And then we'll kind of, summer months, people are like, can't be bothered, around the holidays again, just not around, that kind of thing. But yeah, it's been interesting. And then for me personally, it's been interesting trying to balance between what do I want the space to be, right? Because it isn't like the primary source of income. I have more flexibility than other like co-working spaces do.
Sure.
So we can think about it. Yeah, it's like, you've got the people that are here every day on their traditional like office suite lease space. We've got our coworkers that are kind of in the shared area. And then we do a lot of like hourly rental type of things. So we'll have somebody come in and rent the conference space. Like that's not a big deal. But we've also done a lot of like specialty filming and corporate shoots and things of that nature. So for those days, we tend to kind of need to shut down like the space and give exclusive rights to whoever that outside company is. You can earn a lot of money on an hourly basis that way, right? But for me, it's like, well, I need to temper that with the needs of the coworkers, with the needs of like the, people that are here all day, every day. And so like, I don't want to inconvenience people too much. And I also don't want to be only an hourly event rental space because I actually crave and thrive in this like communal sharing space. So it's been like balancing that and just, making sure it's like, okay, do you want to push more of this? Do you want to push more of that? And I feel like we've gotten to a pretty good balance. We don't do, if we're going to shut the space down, we don't do it more than once a quarter. I feel like that's minimally disruptive to, our regular users. And
you announce it usually like a little bit further in advance.
Yeah, exactly.
Too,
and oftentimes I'll also kind of put it out there and be like, hey, does anybody have anything like super important happening this day, right? Because if they've got, well, my corporate bosses are coming in that day, then I'm going to defer to their needs, right? And then just say, hey, I'm so sorry, we're not able to help you on that day. So I'll usually kind of like talk to people, one-on-one, or we've got like a WhatsApp chat group and stuff like that. So I'll just be like, hey, what's this date look like for you?
Not on the WhatsApp chat group. There's something new today. Now I know.
Would you even check it though?
I know where I am in the pecking order. Okay,
you won't check it.
It's a whole different group. I'm not part of.
This is how specialized we are. Like I will personally text Matt. I'm like, "Are you coming to the party this month?" Because like he just can't be bothered to check his email, or other things of that nature. So yeah, and I'm like, "Hey,
you got to get that engagement."
Yes, that is like personalization, customization, dedication.
But not on the chat group though.
Absolutely.
Like, look at that.
Sandra cares.
You cannot please these people. You just can't. Like, don't even try.
I think the balance is really important though, because like my business is the same thing. There's we have certain plans that cater to certain agencies. And the problem with that is we have to do a little bit more extra work than usual because they're a bigger order. And we're a small company, so we have to kind of make sure we're prioritizing correctly. But there's a balance to it because we have a bunch of those customers, then we don't want them dictating the whole platform. We have like our core thousands of user, like $9 and $19 a month customers. Like we want to make sure they're happy and maintained. But at the same time, sometimes we just need the extra revenue from these other agencies. And like, okay, we'll take that business. Sometimes it does distract us a little bit, but we need it. maybe for marketing, or maybe it's steering those periods of like we want to bulk up during a period of like, hey, we're not going to do any marketing, so we want to have a little bit better, a little bit more cash in the bank. I feel like it's kind of the same thing with you. It's like, well, you're okay with the balance because it brings extra revenue. It's kind of like revenue that you can't predict. It just comes whenever, and when you have it, it's great. It's there. It's kind of like a bonus, basically.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
Sandra, do you have any partners in your co-working space? Do you have anybody that is kind of like a business manager or ops manager or a partner with you on that?
Not really. I mean, we have like our admin that makes, everything actually flow, which is wonderful. But like in terms of sharing, it's pretty much just me.
Okay.
What about the fractional stuff? What I forgot.
That's not for Hub, though.
Oh, okay. So that was for Innova.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, we do have a small team for Innova Industries. For Hub, it's really just like that administrative, function of that, and just making sure that.
How are you getting customers if it's just you, and it's not even like you're full time? Like, how are you? Like, for me, I have to market like 24/7.
Yeah. So we don't really do hardly any marketing at all. And
you have people come in here all the time. Like, I can't even find a parking. I had to park over there now. The parking space was filled here, and I was like, now it's busy. I liked it before. I first came, I had a parking spot, and now
white wine.
It's way too busy.
So I think there's a white wine that Matt's sipping on today.
This podcast is going to be Matt's complaints about.
This is customer feedback.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So I've forgotten what the actual question was. How
are you getting customers? You're not doing any marketing, but
right.
How are you?
Okay. So one, I feel like we are geographically, well located, well situated. We're in the Heights area. So if you're unfamiliar with Houston, we've got a few neighborhoods that are inside that inner loop,
which is like Montrose. Is Memorial count? No. So
that's outside the loop.
Okay, so like Montrose and then Heights. Well, Heights is kind of outside the loop too, kind of.
The 610 loop.
Okay, 610, fine.
There's. Okay. He's from Chicago. Okay, let's come back over here. So you've got your central loop is the 610 loop. Then you've got the Beltway. Then you've got Highway 6, and then you've got, Grand Parkway or whatever now.
Way too many loops.
Houston is geographically very, very large, right? And we're very dispersed, etc. But if you're inside the 610 loop, and you're mostly on the west side of it, this is what I call where all the cool kids live, okay? So not to discredit other neighborhoods, etc., but that's going to be like your Upper Kirby, Montrose, Heights, River Oaks, like not Galleria. Galleria is just outside, but it's kind of.
I don't count Galleria, definitely.
No, but the end, Highland Village, all of that.
There,
yeah, exactly. Like River Oaks bleeds into the Galleria area, so like those are the most desirable parts of town, right? And so for the Heights area, which we get a large percentage of all the cool like restaurants, bars, etc. that are coming to Houston. I think Montrose and Upper Kirby and Heights get like the largest density of all of that kind of like really cool stuff that's coming into Houston. So we're right smack dab in the heart of the Houston Heights area, Heights proper, actually, right?
And it actually feels like a city. This is the only area that kind of,
it's very walkable too, right? And so like right behind us, we've got the Heights hike and bike trail. Yale Street is a main thoroughfare as well, which is what we face. So we actually do get a lot of just street traffic,
That's great.
Visibility as far as that goes. We do have, social channels and all of that. I'm not super proud about how much effort goes into that.
That's okay. You're in good company. I would argue that with a co-working space, I think location is probably going to be one of the best options for you with a marketing tool, because it is location. It's if someone is thinking of where they want to work or have an office, it's got to be in a great location. There has to be coffee shops and restaurants. It has to be walkable. It can't be kind of on a one-off road where no one's really going to find you, because if you are working there, if you're working there and you're going to host clients there or your own colleagues and team there as well, I mean, you really have to think about location. So I would argue that location is probably one of the most important things to look at when founding a co-working space.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's like very much tied to real estate, right? It's like location, location. So I think that's super important. We do get like word of mouth referral, and then there are certain platforms that are available that, a lot of companies are moving away from having physical real estate, and they've sent a lot of their workforce to work remotely, et cetera, but understanding that people get antsy and they don't actually want to be home all day, every day. I think it seems like the sweet spot is where they have the option to work from home, but then they actually have an option to go into an office in a physical space and be surrounded by other people that are doing work as well. So, there are platforms where corporations, just put money in there and they're like, hey, if you're in this city, here are 5 different spaces that you can go, and you can, it's on our corporate account. You go in, you work for the day. So we are on a few of those. And then there are like Airbnb, VRBO platforms as well, like Peerspace, for instance, for hourly rentals.
So you're on like all these marketplaces, basically.
Yeah, so there are not all of the marketplaces, but we are on a few select marketplaces that are kind of geared towards a space like ours. And so I would say that's probably the majority of the exposure that we get. And then secondarily would be just, location. If people are within a certain proximity and they're Googling co-working spaces, we're going to pop up. And
I'm pretty sure that's how I found it, because I just Googled co-working.
Although sometimes I really feel like Google's a scam. Like it took so long for them to recognize this as a co-working space. No, I mean, it
depends if you do the Google business profile. If you do that, it actually comes up right away. Really?
We've always had one.
They didn't like your location.
Yeah. We have always had one. And then for like a while, we advertised with them or whatever. And so we didn't really see any revenue coming in that way. And so we stopped advertising with them. And then after that, we noticed that they were like suddenly we just weren't showing up anymore. And so I got on the phone with one of the other sales reps, and they were like, well, yeah, but you need to advertise with us. You need to do pay-per-click. You need to do this and that. And I was like, yeah, but if I'm on the Maps application and I type in co-working space and I'm across the street, I should be able to see that there's a co-working space there, and it's not showing up at all. And they're like, well, that's because you need to advertise with us. I'm like, no, I'm sorry. Don't you provide the basic function of being basically like a location, service? And if you're not doing that, if you're a coffee shop and you're not showing up as a coffee shop, so there is some kind of like,
it's a scam. It's a scam. Google business profiles. I have fought business Google profiles for several different issues for both of my businesses as well as my clients' businesses. And I will tell you 100%. I've worked with 3 different Google experts so far who are not with Google. They're experts, consultants in working with Google, and they all say the same thing. Google is a scam. So 100%, Sandra, I agree with you. I hate working with them. They are a necessary evil, unfortunately. I had one client, I went to his office. I filmed a business verification video for this one client 4 different times over the span of 6 months and kept going to his office to film it for him. And it finally worked on the 4th time. And you guys, we did absolutely nothing different. So it's definitely a scam. I was going to ask you, Sandra, in founding 2 businesses and over the course of 16 years working for yourself, what is one profound lesson that you've learned in working for yourself and running your own businesses that you wanted to share?
Profound. Okay. I mean, I think at the end of the day, a couple different things, right? If you started something, it's probably because you have a passion for it. You have the expertise in it. And you've put in like the hard work to build that foundation. So trust the foundation that you've built, lean into your own expertise, and know that it's okay to not have all of the answers, right? And be comfortable in that. It takes a long time to be comfortable going, oh my gosh, I don't actually have the answer for that in this moment, but, having that constant thirst for knowledge is a wonderful thing, and being open to learning as you're going along the way. But be comfortable that you have acquired this knowledge base, and that you can continue to grow it as time goes on. So trust yourself, trust your intuition, trust in your own knowledge and your expertise that you've built over the years. And then, just know that there will always be like constant changes and variables and new challenges that are coming up. So, try to stay try to stay loose in that. And I think, when we had our pre-talk the other day, we were talking about, it's just business versus the fact that we are all humans in the midst of this business, right? And so it's important to allow yourself to feel what you're feeling, right? If you're feeling discouraged in the moment, like, you can be discouraged in the moment. Like, that's okay.
Yeah, don't fight against it. The more you fight against it, the longer all that stuff prolongs.
Exactly.
You can't get past it.
Yeah, let yourself work through those hard feelings that are, that are going to be there. But once you move through that emotion, then say, okay, I've had my time with this emotion. Let's go back to what is the logical portion of this? What can I do? Right. And so constantly go back and say okay, well, what was working for me? What hasn't been working for me? I love our conversations because, I'll invest money into a trade show, or I'll invest money into this or that. And when I start to talk about it out loud with you, that's when I hear myself say things in such a way that really starts to, echo with me. And I'm like, oh, as I'm talking to you about it, I'm seeing that I feel this way about it, or I feel that way about it.
No, I'm the same way. Every time I talk, we share ideas. We gotta do more of that, actually. Then once I hear the same thing, I hear it out loud. And it's well, it actually either sounds super good, or there needs to be it needs more time in the oven. It's half baked still.
Yeah.
Right.
Or I'm sitting here and I'm trying to convince you. And going, am I trying to convince myself? And therefore,
actually, that happens 100%. A lot. But it's telling you to do it. Why are you doing it?
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then I'm oh, was it a good idea to begin with? Maybe it actually wasn't a good idea.
That soundboarding is so important in business ownership. Having a good source of people that you can soundboard with, and then you can realize, am I actually doing this because I believe in it, or is it advice that I need to take myself, or am I really trying to convince myself of something when I don't believe in it? So I do think that processing, that external processing as a business founder is absolutely so important.
Yeah. And I think too, when you are a founder, right, it's usually because you're either a visionary or a creative. Mm-hmm. That's not really a 9-to-5 job.
Yeah.
And so, thankfully, unthankfully, we do get bogged down on all of the other parts of running a business, making sure you're filing this form at the right time, and that you're compliant with this and
taxes.
Yeah, and all of that kind of stuff, and it's just I'm happy to do it. Just don't make me do it. I don't want to sit here and do that anymore, right?
I don't think anyone does.
Nobody does. Nobody gets into business and they have a passion for something.
I'm happy to fill out this form.
Yeah. Nobody wants to get bogged down with that.
Yeah.
I think there's some grace in allowing yourself to go okay, maybe I showed up to work today and I didn't do anything that was creative or visionary, right? And saying that's okay. Mm-hmm. Because we've also talked about when that happens, sometimes it happens in spurts, and sometimes you will sit there for 90 minutes and you have kicked ass, and you have done a week's worth of work, or laying a framework for, something. And so it's being okay, saying hey, today was kind of a day, but knowing that you're going to make it up at some point, and that visionary role, that creative role, that's not something that you can necessarily schedule in all day every day.
Yeah.
That you need to have some kind of disciplinary framework, I guess. but knowing that like that inspiration sometimes will just come when it comes.
Yeah.
Right.
And capitalize on that when it happens.
I think you and I relate there because like there'll be periods where like people don't know why I'm like, why are you working so hard these days? Like, well, maybe I'm just not in the mood, but to be honest, I just, my head's somewhere else. I'll know maybe a week, maybe it'll be a month later, there's going to be a whole different cycle of like productivity that will kick in. So like, it's kind of like you trust your cycles. Like basically, like, you know, today sucks. Okay. So what? You know, eventually there's going to be one of those days where it's like you spend, like 90 minutes to a few hours and that just produced either a ton of value, ton of opportunities all in a very short amount of time.
Yeah.
I love that. Trust your cycles. I think that's wonderful because I do think that we have a cycle of work and it's based on our energy and it's based on a lot of other factors. But I think when you trust that and know, and you have to trust yourself to know that you're going to come back to something. And so when you're working and when you're doing the visionary and the integration, I think that knowing that you're going to come back to, if it's more of a task day, it's more of a heads down task day, or if it's more of a creative mode and you need to do things that are inspiring to you, there's two different work modes in that specific category, but there's also so many. And I do think trusting yourself that you will fill in the buckets of other tasks when your mind is ready for that is so important.
Yeah. And, the last year or two have been a shift in mindset for me because I intentionally stayed pretty small with my primary company for a long time, as I was wanting to make sure that I had that work-life balance, right? So my kids are teenagers now. My daughter's in college. It's crazy. My son is a junior. So I'm not mothering all day, every day, and so suddenly I have a lot more headspace. My focus has shifted into doing everything for their future and their well-being, into what is my future and what is my well-being looking like, right? And so the last couple of years have been a reframing of, I want growth, right? And how do we achieve that? What does that look like? Does that look like hiring? Does that look like restructuring? Does that look like streamlining your processes within your company? Is it a combination of all of the above? Yes, it is. And so,
or is there something unknown, right? That the unknown is going to be the unlock, but you got to figure that out too.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we were talking the other day because I was in one of those, trying to overcome a little bit of a discouraging portion because I had been, pouring my time and energy into bringing in a new business development, person. I had been, trying to really get this leasing arm of our company to really launch and take off. I had been working with a fractional CFO. And so all of this was, there's always an initial investment of your time and your energy. And that you're going to be taking a hit on the other things that you're doing, right? So you're pouring yourself out into this and all of that. And then, in the end, the contract with the new business development guy didn't work out. So, walked away from that opportunity. The CFO thing remains kind of in the air right now, but it just, wasn't seemingly giving me tangible outputs from that. And the leasing thing was it was there. And so, I was just I have really poured all of this time and energy into all of this stuff. And, here we are, with nothing to show for it. But it was just really a matter of trying to reframe that and going okay, you know what? I've actually laid a lot of framework here for when the right person comes in to take on this new business role, right? And so, I've got the contract ready to go. I have walked through the mental exercise of knowing what it is that I want now. So I'm more streamlined into thinking about how to find that, what to look for the next time around. That's ready to go. I'm ready to go with that, And then also built a little bit of excitement on my own end because I was this is what I want them to do. That's what I want them to do. I'm well, I can do that. Obviously, you know what I mean? And it's just I just need to maybe take a little bit more of my personal time to do this and chase this down. And then, on the leasing side, I was like, okay, hey, we have gone through the insurance, exercises, everything's in place. We've got the contracts ready to go, legal, it's all gone through legal, it's ready to go, And so basically just kind of giving myself a pat on the back for all of the hard work that I'd done to lay the framework for all of these things. Even if it wasn't actively being engaged right now, it's still laying that foundation for future growth.
For this role, like you're just trying to find where you look right, someone else looks left, and you just want to have that trust. So having the foundation, it's like, it's just, you just got to have the right person to take up all the things that you laid on and then grow it on their own, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And then on the CFO side, for me, it was just like, once again, I mentioned, my background is in sociology and French, so I'm really good at understanding what customers' needs are and being able to fill that. That doesn't mean that I'm a financial wizard. That doesn't mean that I have like all of that expertise that, a CFO would bring in. And so, again, recognizing where your strengths are, where your weaknesses are, your deficiencies are, and making sure that you're, going out to somebody that can help you with that. And honestly, they were really integral for some of the things that we were looking at late last year, early this year. And then after that, it's been kind of like, okay, what is their like day-to-day functions and what would that look like? And that's the nugget that like I haven't really been able to crack. Do we need them? Do we not need them? Like how, what's that going to look like? But regardless, I mean, I think it was a good learning experience for me. It's going to be, it's still just laying that framework for growth to come, right? So yeah, I think, you need to be proud of the things that you're doing and knowing that even if they could be qualified as mini failures in this time frame, like it's a learning experience. And I think that's when you do the most amount of learning, right? Is when you throw something, see if it sticks. If it doesn't stick, then that's okay because, hopefully you've got something else in your back pocket, and you're going to go for the next thing. So.
Cool. I think that's super valuable insight. I think we'll conclude it. Really want to thank you for joining our podcast.
Thanks for having me.
And I'm pretty sure she can say the same thing. We're always looking for guests, so I'm really, really happy that you're able to join. So thank you.
Thank you guys so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks. You, Sandra. It was lovely talking with you. Yeah, that's a wrap on Only Founders. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.